Thank you for standing by, and welcome to the Avecho Biotechnology Investor Webinar and Q&A today, discussing yesterday's milestone of the company securing an exclusive licensing and development agreement with Sandoz. All participants are in a listen-only mode. There will be a slide presentation first, which will last for approximately 20 minutes, followed by Q&A based on questions that have been emailed in and live via Zoom. If you have a question you'd still like to submit, please feel free to type it in using the Q&A function within Zoom. Appearing on behalf of Avecho today, we have the CEO, Dr. Paul Gavin. I'll hand it over to Paul.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time today. As Matt said, I'm Dr. Paul Gavin. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Avecho Biotechnology. And look, today we're here to announce a significant milestone. So a new licensing deal we've just inked that we believe will have a transformative impact on our business and unlock tremendous value for our shareholders. Now, this partnership is not just a strategic step forward. It really is a testament to the strength of the innovation of our product, our leadership in the space, the trust we have been building with our partner, but most importantly, really hard work. Now, in the next few minutes, we'll be diving into the details of this agreement, how it aligns with our proprietary CBD capsule and ongoing pivotal phase 3 clinical trial, and the immense potential it brings to our company and stakeholders. We will be taking the time to answer your questions and discuss the opportunities this partnership creates for growth and expanding our global footprint with this product. Safe harbor statement. And so just very quickly, for those of you who are new to our story, we have been focused on developing a pharmaceutical drug product combining our TPM delivery technology with cannabidiol or CBD for a number of years. Now, CBD is the major non-psychoactive cannabinoid component of the cannabis plant. Now, this product is targeting pharmaceutical registration, which is rare for cannabinoids, with a clinical indication of primary insomnia. And it's currently being tested in a pivotal phase 3 clinical trial around Australia. Now, insomnia is a huge problem around the world. We probably didn't appreciate how big until we started this program, affecting 10 to 30% of the population, with 10 to 15% classified as chronic. There are currently no pharmaceutical CBD products registered anywhere in the world for insomnia, but sleep remains one of the most common indications that CBD is prescribed for in the medicinal cannabis and consumer markets. Now, the market opportunity is large. Now, in Australia, there are 3.6 million Australians suffering from insomnia, chronic, and 9.5 million having insomnia symptoms. Now, it's estimated that the first over-the-counter CBD product in Australia will have an annual market of greater than US 125 million per annum. And that's, from what we've seen, a conservative estimate. Globally, there are around 237 million people suffering from insomnia. So you can see how this opportunity extrapolates outward. Now, the new part to this pitch, obviously, is that the product now has commercial validation with our first licensing deal with a global multinational, which is Sandoz. The terms of the license are very attractive for us, and we will earn substantial annual revenues upon successful commercialization, which I'll talk to in a bit. Now, as we move forward, our phase 3 trial now becomes our major milestone, specifically the short term, this interim analysis. And there's the potential for further licensing deals in additional territories, which I'll also talk to. And so before I get into Sandoz, I did want to talk very specifically about the criteria of the partner that we were really keen to land, because this partnership will be a critical factor in helping us achieve our objectives and unlocking the substantial value for our shareholders. First and foremost, we ideally wanted a large, financially stable pharmaceutical company. So a partner with strong financial resources will provide the necessary stability and capital to execute on the ambitious plans we have for completing the development and the subsequent commercialization of the product. Now, equally important is we wanted the company to have R&D experience. We wanted a proven clinical track record of clinical development of new medications, because we did get plenty of interest from specialist generics companies that only typically license approved medications, but they're not routinely involved in the risk of R&D. And that is a very specific appetite. We wanted someone that did that for a living. Now, in addition, we wanted a partner with a deep understanding of regulatory requirements, and especially the Australian TGA. Now, our product is initially chasing a very unique TGA opportunity that has never, ever been done before, which is obviously part of the opportunity. Consequently, we need a partner with significant expertise in regulatory submissions and approvals with the TGA. Now, we also wanted them to have significant over-the-counter OTC experience in the Australian market. Now, the Australian market is small by pharmaceutical standards. And when you talk to the big global pharmaceutical companies, it's very easy for them to dismiss Australia as a lesser priority in their portfolio. And consequently, they don't explore what this OTC commercial opportunity could be sufficiently. So we wanted a partner that took Australia seriously and understood how big the Australian opportunity could be. And with that in mind, they should also come with a robust distribution network. So establish relationships with the Australian pharmacy sector, because if they don't and have to build it, then it sort of stymies our ability to get product to market efficiently. The last two, ideally, we did want a company with global reach. The initial deal is just for Australia, but obviously, if we have a multinational that taps into other geographies around the world, then there's a shorthand we have with them, a shorthand with the product, and there's opportunities to get the product into other territories around the world. And as we'll talk about, those other territories could be incredibly valuable. But lastly, strong record, reputation. So reputation does matter in this industry. We wanted to align ourselves with a company with a solid history of success and the reliability that gives us confidence and our shareholders confidence and the market that we are walking forward with someone that 100% knows what they're doing. And so with that, we are very excited to announce that we found that partner, and this partner meets or exceeds all of our idealized partnering criteria. So Sandoz is a Swiss-based multinational company, market cap of about US $20 billion. They were originally part of Novartis. They were generics business of Novartis. Novartis spun them out. They became independent in 2023. Their presence all around the world. They have around 1,500 approved medicines. Their annual revenues are above 10 billion US. So huge multinational. We could not have landed anyone better. Now, Sandoz's focus is on making a difference to patients with respect to patient access and affordable medicines. Patient access is one of the key areas where this product attracted them because, you know, medicinal cannabis, as an example, it doesn't really have great patient access. If you can register a pharmaceutical product, get it into pharmacies, you're fulfilling, you know, one of the mission statements of Sandoz. They treat over 800 million patients around the world a year, and they've saved annually, they save their patients over $18 billion US in savings because of the pricing. So this is exactly the caliber of the company that we have very patiently been holding off to land. And so we're very excited to be moving forward now. Very importantly, Australia is a key international market for Sandoz. So outside the US and Europe, which are obviously key markets, Australia is one of their top 4 priorities. They are the second largest generics and biosimilars company in the country, with a dedicated focus on OTC medicines. Perfect for us because we're trying to register this CBD product and commercialize it as an OTC medicine. Nationwide presence and strong relationships with all the major pharmacy chains. Robust distribution network are already in place, so they've got the ability to supply every pharmacy in the country. And I think at last check, there's over 5,700 individual pharmacies. So Sandoz are really perfectly positioned to maximize the commercial value of our CBD product when commercialized in Australia. And so, look, at our AGM last year, we told shareholders the priority was to fund our ongoing phase 3 trial by obtaining non-dilutive capital through a pharmaceutical licensing deal. Fair to say, a bunch of group of people in the market and maybe many of our shareholders didn't actually think that was possible. We have delivered in spades. We could not have landed a better partner with better commercial terms than Sandoz. So we're very, very proud and very, very excited of this achievement. So Sandoz get the exclusive rights to Australia for the CBD capsule for insomnia. In return for that, there's an upfront fee of $3 million. So that's due now. That's not reliant on anything. That's 100% coming in the next few weeks, and we will use this $3 million to help advance the trial and augment the rate of recruitment. We're eligible for we're eligible for 16 million in 2 tranches leading up to commercial sales. So before a single product's even been sold. We have very, very attractive tiered royalties on net sales of the product between 14 and 19%. So they are extremely attractive royalty rates. We've done very well and very appreciate the way Sandoz negotiated fairly on the product. So really excited with those royalty rates. We will be responsible for finishing the phase 3 trial. Sandoz will be responsible for commercializing the product. Sandoz will purchase the product from us. So we'll manufacture the product in the US through our contract manufacturers. Sandoz will purchase the product from us for commercialization. Now, we have the rights to discuss licensing everywhere in the world outside of Australia with the product, but we have granted Sandoz first right of refusal to match any of the deals that come in on that product. So all in all, incredibly excited with the terms that we've managed to negotiate with Sandoz. Because this is going to be a monster product once commercialized in Australia. Now, as I say, 10 to 30% of the population have insomnia. 9.5 million Australians have sleep problems. 3.5 million are considered chronic insomniacs. The initial forecasts in the public domain for the product are above 125 million per year. We've done a bunch of business cases now with a number of pharmaceutical companies. This figure could easily be conservative. And based on the royalty rates and the things you saw on the earlier slide, this could easily see Avecho getting 20 to 40 million per year based on the commerciality of the product. Now, when you think globally, 237 million people around the world, insomnia costs the US economy over 63 billion. Just imagine how much bigger the product can be all around the world. Now, sleep is now big business. It's really big business. Everyone's taking it very seriously. The figure here of 950 billion relates to the entire sleep ecosystem. I'm not suggesting for 1 second, it's simply pharmaceutical insomnia. It's just used as an indication of how seriously this is being taken right now. And we are developing this product at the perfect time. And so really the next phase for us, the first deal is always the hardest. Like it's really hard, extensive due diligence. You know, they crawl through everything in the data room. Now that it's done, we have commercial validation from a very large multinational pharmaceutical company. Now, this allows us to enter a sort of new phase of commercial growth as we can license the product into all these other territories. Australia is only the first step. However, as I've just mentioned, as commercially lucrative as the local Australian opportunity is, Australia still remains a smaller global pharmaceutical market. But what the importance of this deal is, beyond the commercial validation, is that it forms a benchmark for subsequent licensing deals. So it is not unusual to set your first benchmark and then extrapolate out into other territories. And so the American market, the American pharmaceutical market is something like 30 times that of Australia. Europe is 20 times. China is 10 times. And it is 100% the first point in subsequent licensing discussions that you say, hey, I got 3 million for Australia. I'd be looking for 90 from the US. That's where the deal making starts. And so there is significant opportunity to start rolling off multiple licensing deals for this product, especially as we traverse through the phase 3 trial and get significant revenue into the company. Now, from me, now that this is done, the focus 100% comes on the next inflection point, which is the phase 3 trial. Now, I think the market has been concerned since we did the capital raise that we couldn't necessarily get to the interim analysis. That concern is now allayed. With Sandoz behind us and the upfronts, we are going to get to our interim analysis. And so the focus now is dosing these remaining subjects as fast as possible to make sure we get there as soon as we can. And so very, very quick reminder, largest phase 3 trial designed for CBD in insomnia, 3 treatment groups, placebo and 2 doses of CBD, daily sleep scores, fortnightly sleep questionnaires. The piece that our trial has that the other trials that had been in the space did not, one of them anyway, is an interim analysis. So we budgeted that we were dosing 540 odd patients in total, but after 200, we would do an interim analysis. So statisticians get to have a look at the data and look at the effect size. And so, I mean, in the worst case scenario, they see no effect size and the trial gets closed early to, obviously save money to shareholders. But in the event that the interim analysis looks positive, we get to repower the study. And the statisticians tell us exactly how many patients we need to maximize the chance of success. Now, as of December, end of December, we had 70 patients who'd received study medication. So about a third of the way there. Recruitment was much slower last year than anticipated. We learned from that. In December, we revised with the ethics committee our inclusion and our exclusion criteria to make recruitment faster. We added some additional trial sites onto the protocol as well, and now they're all ready to start. We had not pressed the button on opening the new clinical trial sites until Sandoz signed, and the last couple of months of due diligence have taken their time. But now that they've signed, we open the new sites and we try and smash through those remaining patients as fast as possible. So we're hoping to dose all of those remaining patients before the end of the year. Now, phase 3 interim analysis is a major milestone because the market and our pharmaceutical partners will consider a positive result that the drug works and the trial's working. And then any doubt with potential licensees for the US and the Europe is washed away. And we look at really seriously licensing the product. Now, the new piece to this puzzle is that come interim analysis, the original plan, as I said, was repower it and then dose the remaining number of patients. With Sandoz on board and their regulatory expertise, the first thing that we'll do if the interim analysis looks good is we'll wrap all the data up in a bow with Sandoz and we'll march into the TGA for a chat. And there is 100% a scenario where it works well enough that with Sandoz behind us, the TGA says, yes, that's probably enough. Let's call the phase 3 trial complete. So that is definitely a scenario that we'll be pushing towards. And so what does the next 12 months look like for, I guess, our shareholders? Now, again, with Sandoz behind the program, we have sufficient capital to complete the study to the major inflection point, which is the interim analysis. The market can stop worrying whether we will complete the trial or not. It's now down to whether the drug product works. And it's up to us to complete the trial to interim as fast as possible. But in doing this, we are going to be walking a path very similar to the one walked by another Australian biotech called Dimerix. Now, I have a number of very good friends at Dimerix. Hi, guys. So I'm sure they won't mind me praising the job they've been doing over the last couple of years. But essentially, like us, Dimerix were in a large phase 3 clinical trial back in 2023. They had a market cap of $26 million. And then they landed their first licensing deal. So they licensed their product for ANZ, EU, UK, and Canada, and the market cap went up over 3 times. Suddenly, everyone started to take notice. People started to buy more leading into this interim analysis because I said an interim analysis is a big deal, and their interim analysis worked. And the market cap, the share price shot off again. They put a capital raise down on the table, and it continued to grow, leading into another licensing deal. So they did a licensing deal for the Middle East and North America. They've subsequently done a third. But essentially, by doing geography-wise licensing deals and stepping a phase 3 trial through an interim analysis, their market cap went up nearly 13 times in 12 months. And we are entering a very, very similar window of opportunity right now. So we are right at the start. We've done our licensing agreement with Sandoz, heading towards an interim analysis. As you've seen, very, very, very compelling prices to be had for other geographies. So it is only it's only a matter of time before the share price re-rates. So yep, for those of you that are going to complain to me in 12 months that you missed the opportunity is now. So yep, take a very hard look at it. And so this is really the year in front of us. We've ticked off the partnering deal. Very, very happy, very, very proud. Perfect partner. Now the phase 3 is the priority. We're looking to complete the study to the interim as soon as possible. We're opening new sites. Those sites already come with a database of insomnia patients. So we're actually hoping for a nice hit of new patients coming on the study in the coming months. And we only need sort of 140, 150, 160. So we're hoping to smash through that as quickly as possible. I've been focused full time on Sandoz for the last really 6 months. we can now revert to some of the other partnering discussions that we've been having, not just for the CBD product in other territories, but other cannabinoid products. Again, this partnering discussion is now very different because everyone I'm talking to knows Sandoz, has crawled through the data, and they like what they see. So it's a very different commercial discussion now. And so the interim analysis, as I mentioned earlier, if it works well, we'll have a chat with the TGA. We'll see if they require more patients. And if they don't, the next thing is really jumping on our TGA submission. And again, we will build this in collaboration with Sandoz to position the dossier in such a way that the TGA has very, very little reason to say no. So we think it's going to be a very, very big year for our shareholders that have been eagerly awaiting us to do some kind of pharmaceutical licensing deal. I hope you're happy. This is a big one. It doesn't get much better than Sandoz. And we thank you for your patience, and we really do hope that over the next sort of 12 to 24 months, you see a whole sequence of success stories that brings you, a lot of returns. So with that, Matt, I'll pass back to you for any questions.
Great. Thanks for that, Paul. As you mentioned, we'll move on to the question session, the Q&A session. As mentioned earlier, the questions are based on those sent through via email and using the Q&A function within Zoom. So again, if you have a question you'd like to submit, please feel free to type it in on your screen. Paul, the first question I have is, when is the upfront payable?
Yeah, now. So as I said, it's not contingent on anything. It's an upfront. The $3 million US is the fee for commercial rights to the product in Australia. Sandoz now have commercial rights to the product, and we're organising the payment as we speak.
Thank you. I know you touched on this, but just to reiterate, does the upfront provide sufficient funding to see Avecho through to interim analysis?
It does.
Next question is, has Sandoz due diligence been extensive?
Very. So Sandoz due diligence, 2.5, 3 months, run out of Switzerland and Europe, 15-person panel, basically covering every portfolio that would be involved in drug development, formulation development, clinical trials, quality, IP, business development, toxicology. Yeah, that was my Christmas and New Year's, everyone. So no holiday, 2.5 months of documentation. So very, very, very thorough and testament to the fact that they liked what they saw, that the deal went ahead.
Thank you. The next question is, has relaxation of inclusion criteria helped boost enrolment rates?
So look, we will know once we start. It 100% will. You'd be surprised at some of the minor tweaks that we've made and the effect that we expect. So an example, this is probably longer than intended. In our exclusion criteria, we had an exclusion criteria around napping, very specifically because we couldn't have patients not sleeping during the night and then sleeping during the day and recovering their sleep debt. Now, we didn't think too much about it, but in retrospect, it excluded people like my father-in-law from the trial, who's a healthy retiree who loves a recreational afternoon nap. And so I was on Channel 9 News in October. We had 1,000 patients register overnight. 200 of those patients we had to exclude just because they took naps. And there was no nuance in the exclusion criteria to just say, look, you might not need them, please don't take them. So we've changed napping as an example to be, you can only nap a maximum of X times per week. So suddenly there's potentially 200 patients that are instantly eligible from the last thing. So it's a whole sequence of minor things like that. We have refused to change the inclusion exclusion around the really important things. So it's just a bunch of these minor tweaks that we think will be very additive and make a big difference. But we will know as soon as we hit the button again on the recruitment.
Thank you. How many participants need to have completed the trial for interim analysis?
Yeah, we do need that sort of 200 or 210. So, I mean, we've had dropouts as well, obviously, over the course, especially during the early phase. So those patients get replaced. I mean, it's a phase 3 trial. It's a long dosage period. These are some of the things that you just have to endure. But again, enduring it for me and hopefully for you is much better knowing Sandoz is there behind it.
Thank you. And again, when is it estimated that interim analysis might take place?
So as I said, we are very hopeful. I mean, we're going to dose very hopeful that we work to dose all the patients this year. It might be faster than that. As I say, we expect to get a bit of a sugar hit on recruitment from a couple of the clinical trial sites that we're about to open. So they come with existing sleep insomnia patients. Plus, there's sort of 200 odd people that we can potentially reach out to see if they're still interested in participating in the trial. So we'll be able to keep everyone. We will update people once the new sites are open and we see how that's looking. But the plan is at the moment, recruit everyone this year and then get on to the interim analysis, which is that means the early months next year.
Thank you. Has any interest been shown to date by other parties in the use of the capsule in other indications or in other territories?
Other territories, yes. We've discussed the capsule with a number of companies over the journey for other territories. I mean, Europe is of specific interest to a lot of people, given what they're doing now on the medicinal cannabis front. We've spoken to people about the US. Haven't spoken to any pharma companies yet around additional indications, but we've obviously, as you know, we've put anxiety as a secondary in here. So that's another readout. And we've spoken to a number of hospitals that are interested in testing it for other indications. But at the moment, with the pharmaceutical licensing discussions, it's 100% at the moment on the insomnia.
Thank you. What information about the current trial has been shared with Sandoz that hasn't been released to the public?
Oh, lots, but it's the kind of information that the public will be less interested in. So the due diligence from Sandoz was very specifically, there's a whole arm of it around GCP compliance and the quality of all the individuals and service providers involved in the study. So I had to supply the CVs and GCP training records of every individual that has been involved in the trial from the concept of the design 3 years ago. And Sandoz had to vet everyone that they were appropriate and qualified to weigh in a pivotal phase 3 trial. They haven't seen anything. They have seen obviously the phase 1 PK absorption profile, which we haven't released to the market. But yes, I mean, they haven't seen any phase 3 data. They haven't seen anything like that has been kept from shareholders.
Great, thank you. Can you speak to your view on the selling in the stock yesterday, despite the deal being announced?
We can. So look, I mean, I guess I'd answer that a couple of ways. So I think initially, even from some of the questions, there was a bit of a misunderstanding or not a complete understanding of how good this deal is and what it means for the future. As you heard from some of the questions, I had some feedback that it wasn't 100% clear when this $3 million, 3 million US was due, and it's not contingent on anything. It's coming now. But again, there's been a number of people that have acquired stock over the last couple of years at cheaper prices that are making a profit now, and all power to them. And some longer term guys that have been around for the journey and they're not prepared for the next step. But I mean, the selling yesterday, while it didn't increase the price necessarily the way I had anticipated, from my perspective, there's no way the price doesn't accumulate over time once people understand the value of the deal and who Sandoz is. So again, the fact that it didn't appreciate as much yesterday, it's just delayed the inevitable, and it just opens the window of opportunity for all of the people on this call to get in and take the opportunity to take a position now.
Thank you. Some of the live questions now. Did you approach Sandoz or did Sandoz approach you?
I approached Sandoz. I have spoken to that many pharmaceutical companies around the world over the last 3 years. I know all of their questions, concerns, interests. Where I'll be eternally grateful for one of those pharmaceutical companies, and I owe him a bottle of wine, is I started pitching to one pharmaceutical company late last year who 20 minutes into the pitch said, "Stop pitching to me. I know the perfect partner for this product." And he introduced me to the Australian CEO of Sandoz. And yeah, and it was love at first sight. That's all I'll say.
Very good. The next question is, can you speak to the source of the CBD API? Is it synthetic or phyto?
So this is synthetic. So this is using the ultra high purity synthetic CBD manufactured by Purisys in the US, has a DMF lodged with the FDA. The FDA has already reviewed the DMF. We think that's the most appropriate dosage form for most of the pharmaceutical markets, not necessarily all of them. The perfect thing about the synthetic is it avoids some of the TGA guidances like TGO 93 because it's not of botanical origin and it has no confounding cannabinoids. So part of the TGA concern is that, there'll be a bit of THC and a bit of the cannabinoids that can give a psychoactive effect. None of those are present in synthetic CBD.
Thank you. The next question is, how much can patients expect to spend on this medication once it's available over the counter?
Look, it'll be up to our partner to ultimately set the retail price. Well, set the price to pharmacy and then pharmacy to set the retail price. It'll be a more expensive OTC product when it's first launched. I can't give you an exact price, but it might be sort of 150, $200. That is 100% a function on the cost of the API. So the API itself at the moment is still expensive because it's not being manufactured at commercial scale. We may actually be one of the first companies to commercialize a product in the world using this API. So the cost of the API will drop very, very rapidly once it's in commercial manufacture. And as you've heard, Sandoz's whole mission statement is to improve access and affordability for patients. So they'll presumably be passing those savings on to the market as soon as they come in.
Thank you. The next question is, what is the process if we want to license in the USA?
So the process for me is, I've spoken to a number of the pharmaceutical companies. So the pharmaceutical companies that we target are those that are either explicitly in insomnia or those that more importantly are in CNS and mental health. The really great thing about this indication is that insomnia is kind of the gateway to the broader mental health indication. So you can treat depression and anxiety and all these things by just helping your patients sleep better. It's a real vicious cycle. When you can't sleep, depression becomes worse. Depression becomes worse, so you can't sleep. But a lot of psychologists or psychiatrists in the US are a bit hesitant to prescribe their patients sedatives who are depressed because they might use the sedatives to try and self-harm. So there's a real opportunity in the mental health pharma companies to start positioning this and saying, look, safer sedative can be used in, it's not a sedative, safer sleep aid that can be used in conjunction with your medication. So we're already talking to a bunch of these companies as the Sandoz news goes around the world, because it will go around the world, not because of little Avecho. It will go around the world because I think Sandoz are now officially the largest pharmaceutical company on the planet with a flag in the sand for pharmaceutical cannabinoids. So their involvement will drag eyeballs and interest to allow us to sort of progress some of these conversations with existing people we've been talking to and new people that have a bit of fear of missing out.
Right. Next question is, as we are in a phase 3 trial, can you please briefly recap the phase 2 results?
No. So we've built our trial. This Australian opportunity to TGA registration is a bit of a bit of a race to registration. We're now currently the last one actively in the race. I'm sure others will come in behind us. So The value of the trial design that we have is it is built like an adaptive design phase 2, phase 3 trial. So the phase 3 up until the interim analysis effectively fulfills the design of a phase 2 and allows us to march straight into remaining patients and call the whole thing a phase 3. So from that perspective, there's no phase 2 data. But the one thing I will say is that currently in the world, there is one pharmaceutical FDA-registered cannabidiol product. It's a product called Epidiolex. It's registered with the FDA and the TGA for rare childhood epilepsy. So it's rarely prescribed because by definition, it's an orphan indication and less than 200,000 patients in the US at any one time would require it. It was acquired for 7.2 billion US in 2021. That's the value pharmaceutical cannabinoids have, even for small indications like that. A common side effect of Epidiolex is sleepiness. So Epidiolex has proven in randomized placebo-controlled studies that CBD will cause people to be sleepy. Now, granted, they use quite high doses of the product, but they've proven CBD works to influence sleep. It's up to us now to prove it in a dedicated insomnia trial.
Thank you. With the potential cash flow involved, what is the likelihood of an outright acquisition of the company?
Oh, look, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, if we were to license this product to Europe, just say Europe, and we had the terms that we have now, and just say Sandoz licensed it for Europe, and we had similar terms that we had in Australia. Very quickly, if you were Sandoz and you were paying us, 50, 60, 70, 100 million US a year in royalties, would you want to keep paying those for 10 years or would you just want to acquire the company? So this sets us up in the future. These are all possibilities on the table. Yep. In either way, their shareholders will win.
Thank you. The next question is, does Sandoz have any clawback right to the upfront payment if the trial doesn't show efficacy at interim analysis?
No.
Next question, are there major markets where the drug won't qualify as over-the-counter, for example, Canada?
I just want to expand on the previous question. That
Sure.
was a bit flippant. There's no clawback for Sandoz on the $3 million, not because, we've negotiated, strong negotiation to not put a clawback. They're partners and they've acknowledged the commercial opportunity with the product and they've acknowledged the development phase that it's in, and 100% eyes wide open, they have said, we think this is worth investment. So there's no strings attached to the $3 million. Again, not because we've been really awesome negotiators. They've invested in R&D, and that's what they're doing because they believe in the product. Sorry, what was the second question?
No problem. Yeah, are there any major markets where the drug won't qualify as over-the-counter, such as, for example, Canada?
Oh, definitely. So at the moment, this OTC opportunity for Australia, it was unique up until I think last year. New Zealand grandfathered it across, so now Australia and New Zealand are offering it. If I was to register this product in the US, it'd be prescription medicine. And it'd be a prescription medicine in a bunch of the other countries at the moment as well. Now, where that is very interesting is, some of the conversations that I've had over the years with US pharmaceutical companies is that they're a bit uncomfortable around the Australian OTC opportunity because of price disparity. And I'd sort of naively said, look, it's going to be quite an expensive OTC product when it launches in Australia. And the response I get from the Americans is, yes, but in the US, we all charge $30,000 a year for this product. And when you say, but it's CBD for insomnia, it's like, it doesn't matter. This is the US system, and that's what we can charge for a registered prescription pharmaceutical. So whereas it won't be OTC in every country, in the countries where it's not OTC, it will be charged accordingly. And obviously we'll get a percentage of those royalties as well.
Thank you. Just returning to the exclusion criteria piece, The question is, do you need to balance exclusion criteria in terms of speeding up the trial versus making sure the candidates have the best chance to benefit from the Avecho product?
The minor tweaks that we've made will speed up recruitment of the trial by making further people eligible. But they're all window dressing inclusion-exclusion criteria. They're essentially the exclusion-inclusion criteria that we got wrong to start. We cannot change any of the major ones that we had in place. There are three major ones that we could really tweak and make a huge difference. But in tweaking those, we would compromise the resulting phase, the statistical analysis at the end. So we are going to endure recruiting a very specific kind of patient, because that is the patient that is going to make the trial successful.
Thank you. How do you maintain a moat in a potential commodity product?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
How do you maintain a moat in a potential commodity product?
Oh, look, I mean, I would never describe this as a commodity product for Australia. See, I guess the part of the strategy that the government and the TGA has for this OTC registration. So this OTC registration piece is a commercial carrot that the government and the TGA have dangled in front of all of us in the sector. Because they know OTC is a monstrous commercial advantage over prescription medicine. So Australians already spend over $5 billion a year on OTC medicines. You don't need a prescription, you don't need a GP, direct access to the entire Australian population. Who wouldn't want that? Their master plan behind that is the minute a product is registered with the TGA, it becomes illegal to prescribe the same product through the unregistered medicine space. So the TGA and government want medicinal cannabis products dragged kicking and screaming into the registered medicine space, because they can no longer be prescribed the same things through the special access scheme and the authorized prescriber scheme. So, and even if they could, if you're a patient, are you going to pay to see a GP and pay to get a prescription for an unregistered medicinal cannabis product? Or are you going to go to your pharmacy and buy the Sandoz product that has gone full clinical trials, GMP manufacturing, GCP, all the rest? So there's already a moat for this product in Australia. Will other CBD products come and hit the market? Yes, they will down the track. And that's why you partner with Sandoz. You partner with the big guys that control the distribution and sales and all the rest, who are used to protecting their market from generics, who can maintain a significant commercial presence. And as we've seen with some of the other medicinal cannabis companies have tried this, doing this is not easy. Phase 3 trials are hard. Commercial development is hard. There is no chance a glut of these products suddenly get registered with the TGA just because ours does. If people are to start new, if they get emboldened by what we have done and it gets successful phase 3 trials, for the most part, they're years behind. And so Sandoz will get many years of first on market, first mover advantage to maximize returns, which then flow back to us.
Thank you. Assuming the company is not acquired, how do you expect potential revenues will be used?
Oh, look, I'll be like the dog chasing the car, and I won't know what to do with it once I catch it. Look, there's a lot we can do. So essentially, as sort of alluded to by one of the earlier questions, I mean, Avecho has historically run a portfolio of products. The CBD product itself is a portfolio in a product. So for the first pass, 100%, it'd be really interesting to expand the label indication. So there's a lot of opportunity in mental health around anxiety. There are other indications which look really interesting. So IBS, IBD, osteoarthritis, acute pain. There's a whole lot of clinical trials we could do there to expand the indication. I would desperately want to conclude some discussions and get the topical CBD into some osteoarthritis trials. But specifically as well, there's a lot we could do with some of the legacy assets in the portfolio. A lot of those got to very, very interesting phases in their development. We're in licensing discussions with a bunch of them now. But yeah, look, the kind of revenue that we are talking about that could result from the conservative business case for this product, let alone if the product really flies, there's a lot we could do. And it'd be around investment in new clinical trials, new products, new indications to really augment the value of what we've done here.
All right, we'll just do a couple more questions. So is synthetic CBD more effective than botanical CBD, considering the different isomer?
It's not a different isomer. So synthetic CBD is identical to natural CBD. Synthetic THC is slightly different to natural THC, but CBD, synthetic and natural, are identical.
And somewhat an extension of that, following on from an earlier question, once the product is registered over the counter, would the other company's CBD isolate no longer be available through the special access scheme pathway?
No, look, they would. They'd be that they're, and I mean, the medicinal cannabis companies are very good at, getting stuff through those special access schemes. So there would still obviously be CBD products available. They'd be different dosage forms. They'd be different dosage strengths. Yep. So it won't rule out CBD altogether, just in products that are similar to ours. And as I say, even with the other CBD products available through the special access scheme, the thing that we don't talk about much with this OTC opportunity in Australia is that it will be the most off-label dispensed pharmaceutical in Australian history. So it's not just the people with sleep that will access it. It will be the pain patients, the anxiety patients, people that are cannabinoid curious. Nothing stops anyone walking into their pharmacy and just saying, I can't sleep, can I have my CBD now? And so to the earlier question, why would you ever go to a medicinal cannabis CBD oil that you have to drink, pay to see a GP, pay to get a prescription, when you can wander into your local pharmacy and get a capsule?
Thanks for that, Paul, and thanks to everyone for the questions. There was quite a lot to get through and plenty of interest, which I think is indicative of the level of interest in the announcement in this deal. But Paul, I'll just throw it back to you for a concluding comment.
Yeah, no, I just, as I say to the shareholders, it's been a long road. We really do understand how patient many of you have been. I think it's been the wish of everyone over the last however many years that, if the stuff is, half as good as we say it is, where are the pharmaceutical companies? Well, here they are. So could not have found a better one. The partnership looks great. Very, very comfortable that we'll have a long working relationship with the guys at Sandoz. And as I say, we consider this now to be the first step. The first one is the hardest. It's done. And now we get on to proving the product works in phase 3 clinical trials and expanding the license into the really, really heavily lucrative markets overseas. So thank you again for your time.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks to everyone for joining.